So, I did a little experiment. I asked GPT-4 10 pretty complex factual questions, and you know what? It got 4 of them completely wrong. I'm talking totally fabricated citations, stats pulled out of thin air, and these really confident statements about things that just never happened. So yeah, let's get into this.
40%. That was the error rate. 4 out of 10 answers were just confidently, plausibly wrong. But honestly, that's not even the most shocking part of the story.
Because then I took those 10 answers and I showed them to 100 people. And I asked them, hey, can you spot the fakes? Do you know how many could do it? 6. Just 6 people. 6%. And that is the real problem, the one we're going to unpack right now. Look, this isn't me just picking on GPT-4. This is a core issue with how all of these large language models work, and it slams right into the mental shortcuts our brains use to figure out what's true and what isn't. So, why are we so bad at this? It all comes down to a concept that researchers are starting to call the plausibility trap.
And here is the absolute key to understanding everything. An AI's primary goal is not to be truthful. Its goal is to be plausible. It's built from the ground up to sound right, to be fluent, to be confident. Whether the underlying facts are real, well, that's kind of a secondary concern for the machine.
You know, we all tend to treat these AIs like some kind of super encyclopedia, right? A knowledge database. But that's not what they are, at all. It's a prediction engine. All it's doing, literally, is predicting the next most likely word in a sentence based on trillions of examples it's seen. It's kind of like asking a friend for a review of a restaurant they've never been to. Instead of saying, I don't know, they just describe what a restaurant like that probably would be like. It sounds perfectly believable, but it's pure guesswork. And this whole sounding right thing is how AI hacks our brains. First, it taps into the fluency heuristic. Our brains are just wired to think that if something is written smoothly and is easy to understand, it's probably true. Then there's automation bias. We just have this built-in reflex to trust computers. And finally, authority bias. The AI sounds so incredibly smart that we can't help but treat it like an expert, especially if we don't know much about the topic ourselves.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. This isn't just theory. The hard numbers from the actual research on this, well, they're pretty unsettling.
Let's start with OpenAI's own data on GPT-4. For simple, straightforward questions, it hallucinates. That's the fancy word for makes stuff up, about 19% of the time. But if you ask it a complex question that requires reasoning, that error rate nearly doubles to 37%. So the harder the question, the more likely the answer is just plain wrong.
But here's the real kicker. That same OpenAI study, it found that GPT-4 sounds exactly as confident when it's wrong as when it's right, about 73% of the time. There is no tell. It's a perfect poker face. You can't just feel that the answer is wrong based on its tone.
So if the AI gives us no clues, how good are we at spotting the fakes on our own? Well, a major study from 2023 found our accuracy is just 57%. We are barely better than a coin flip. Why? Because all those little tells we think we can rely on, like clunky phrasing or bad grammar, are exactly what these models are trained to eliminate.
And this brings us right back to that automation bias. A huge review of dozens of studies found that we humans fail to spot errors made by automated systems 42% of the time. And that's even when we've been warned ahead of time that the system can be wrong. We just want to believe the machine.
Okay, but this next one is the most backwards finding of all. Who do you think is better at finding AI errors? An expert in the field or a total novice? It's got to be the expert, right? Nope. Turns out it's the novices. Researchers call it the expertise paradox. Experts fail to catch errors 60% of the time, while novices only failed 38%. Why? Because the experts trusted the AI more. It sounded so knowledgeable, they let their guard down.
All right, so the problem's pretty clear. AI is confidently wrong a lot, and we are terrible at noticing it. So what on earth are we supposed to do? Let's get practical. Here's your survival guide.
First off, we have to stop making these 3 really common mistakes. Number 1, assuming the new models are fixed. They're getting better, sure, but they all hallucinate. It's part of their DNA. Number 2, thinking you can feel when it's wrong. The data is clear. Your gut is not a reliable fact checker here. And number 3, and this is a big one, never ever trust an AI just because it gives you a source. They will invent entire academic papers that look completely real but are pure fantasy.
So you need a system. Here's a simple 4-step protocol. First, read the AI's response, and just pull out the specific concrete claims, the numbers, the dates, the names. Second, categorize your risk. Is this a high-stakes question for work, or are you just brainstorming ideas for vacation? Third, spot check. Just pick 1 or 2 of those claims and check them on a real search engine. And finally, if it's actually important, you have to cross-reference it. Find at least 2 other reliable sources that back it up.
The most important thing is to totally redefine your relationship with AI. You need to create a clean split in your mind. The AI's job is to generate first drafts, summaries, ideas. It's great at that. But your job, the human job, is to verify. And that part is completely non-negotiable.
And let me give you a new rule of thumb to use from now on. When an AI gives you a very specific claim, a precise number, an exact date, a full citation, that should immediately be a red flag. That specificity shouldn't make you trust it more. It should be a flashing neon sign telling you, go verify this.
Now, if you only remember one single thing from this entire explainer, I want it to be this one simple mindset for how to think about AI. From now on, treat AI like a smart, eager intern. You know the type. They're brilliant, incredibly fast, and full of great ideas. But they're also a little overconfident. They sometimes make things up just to seem helpful, and they are absolutely terrible at saying, I don't know. You would never take an intern's work and just ship it without checking it first, right? So don't do it with AI.
In a world that is now just flooded with plausible-sounding nonsense, verification isn't just a good habit anymore. It is a critical survival skill for anyone who wants to think clearly.
So I'll leave you with one final question to ask yourself. From this point on, the next time you state a fact, just pause and ask yourself, do I actually know this to be true, or did an AI just tell it to me and I just believed it? Your answer to that question is going to be more important than you think.